Hello traders, my name is Tomasz Wiśniewski, I'm a Chief Analyst in Alpari Research and Analysis, and this is Daily Analytical Report with Alpari. Well, the story about the pound is already over. The pound is advancing higher. That's what we are telling for a long time. That's what we are anticipating 2 days ago, yesterday. So it's happening. So, well, hopefully you have a position there. We had position 2 days ago and we closed that yesterday on that resistance that I was mentioning. But the price advanced higher, so we could have kept that position open. But who knows? You never know. Potential. Well, our profit is almost 2% of the account, so with initial loss that we estimated, our stop loss was on around 0.8%. We got almost 2, so it's quite right risk to reward ratio with our efficiency, with our stats. It was a good trade. But the situation with pound is over. There is a strong buy signal there, but I will show you that in a second. But in my opinion, the story for today is euro. Not only for today, but also for the next few days, because on many instruments with euro we do have a short midterm buy signal with a possibility of creating a long-term buy signal, and as well I will show you that in a second. Today we do have an optimism on stocks, on global stock exchanges, stocks on emerging markets, currencies, and on main floors, trading floors are advancing higher. At the same time, safe haven assets are trading lower, like for example gold and silver, and in this positive environment we are right now. So let me start with the calendar. As always, by the way, what do we have here was Wednesday. As you can see, we don't have the top data today on Wednesday. What we had was CPI, which, as usual in Eurozone, this consensus is done right. Usually the number that is being shown is the same as consensus, which we cannot tell. For example, we cannot say that about, for example, American data. But the data from Eurozone is usually the same as consensus, the same as the estimated number by surveys. Trade balance came slightly better than expected, but CPI came as expected. What we still gonna have today is a beige book, but it's not so relevant in terms of the influence on the market. We will have CPI from New Zealand overnight, a pack of data from Japan. Also tomorrow, I'm telling you about the data from tomorrow. A bit of two speeches from two important gentlemen from central banks. First one will be Mark Carney from Bank of England, and second one will be Treasury Secretary from US, Mr. Mnuchin. We'll see what they will tell us. It will happen after the European market will be closed. From the fundamental point of view, we have huge influence on French elections. I'm wondering actually why, in my opinion, it shouldn't have such a big influence, or maybe just different analysts and experts, they are using it just an excuse to talk about some movements, right? If you have an upswing on any instrument, they say about elections. About when we have a downswing, they also try to explain that with elections. I don't think that it's this topic should be such a big driver for the markets. It's definitely not as close as the Brexit, for example. It's not as influential as the elections in US. So I'm not convinced about all those news, all those analysis experts covering this topic, that it has such a big influence on the markets. But anyway, as if you're on the market for a long time, you know that market needs a story to follow, right? For example, a few months ago we had a story about Deutsche Bank, right? And we had the story about Deutsche Bank, and everybody was talking about Deutsche Bank. And what's now? Do you know any news about Deutsche Bank? I don't think so, because suddenly markets stopped talking about that. And is Deutsche Bank any better right now? Well, they're in a slightly better condition right now, but it's definitely not the end of the story. But nobody's talking about that, right? So I'm on this market for a long time, and I noticed this kind of behavior on the market, that there needs to be a top story that is used to explain everything. When the story gets old, market finds another one and tries to explain the movements with the new story, which is pointless for the traders, for the guys who know how the market works, because it's just a battle between demand and supply, and you need to know who's winning right now, and for that you don't need to follow the news. I don't think it's a good way to follow all those headlines, but hey, we are on a daily analytical report, and I'm supposed to tell you what's going on from the fundamental and from the technical point of view. Obviously, I'm good with fundamentals. I'm better with technical analysis, and with this part of the analysis, I will try to explain what's happening on the market and how to approach this situation. So let's go with the charts. As you can see, DAX H4 chart, we are advancing higher. We created a bullish gap, and the price is trying to approach this resistance here. So we can see a slight small optimism. There are few signs of possible problems here and few positive signs. Where are the problems? We broke horizontal support here, labeled with this orange color, and we broke the midterm uptrend line, which started in February. So 2 negative points for DAX. There are also 2 positive points for DAX. We are inside of a flag, which is a trend continuation pattern, so we should see a continuation of this movement. And the second one, we are above this horizontal support. So it's 2 plus against 2 minus. What you should do? Not trade. When you should trade? When you have 4, 5 points on your side and 0 against. That's the situation when you should trade. When you have draw, when you have 2 plus against 2 minus, what you do is you don't trade, and you try to look for another occasion on another market. S&P 500 also positive. What's positive here? That we are inside of a wedge formation, labeled here with blue color. Wedge is a trend continuation pattern. Trend is positive. Another positive thing is that we are above this horizontal support here. But the negative thing is the breakout of this trend line. But was the trend line relevant? Well, it is, because it was a support, support, support. After the breakout, it was a resistance, right? So we can see that traders are respecting that, paying a bit of attention, but it's not so important, right? So also here we do not have a definite signal. Let's go further. This is WTI oil. What do we have here is a breakout of a very important support. The price didn't manage to break this resistance. Price didn't manage to go here. Price broke the horizontal resistance here. So in my opinion, what we are having here is a flag. Flag is a trend continuation pattern, and this way the price should go up. But as long as we stay inside of the flag, so below the upper line and below the horizontal resistance here, the sentiment is not positive yet. Signal for opening a buy position will be created here once the price will break the horizontal resistance and the upper line of the flag formation, right? So here is a signal for buying. There's no signal for selling either now. It will be created once the price will break the horizontal resistance. So far, wait and see approach. So as you can see, according to my system, according to my strategy on indexes and on oil, I don't have a clear trading signal. So let's move to the other. Okay, we have another account. And we start with euro dollar, with the situation I was telling you that euro dollar is, that euro is advancing higher. So what we had here is a wedge formation, right? Wedge in a downtrend. Wedge in a downtrend is supposed to be a trend continuation pattern, but so far trend is not continued. It should be continued once the price will break the lower line of the wedge. So far we don't have that. Instead of that, we got a bounce from the lower line of the wedge. Then price advanced higher, broke a horizontal resistance here, which actually creates a midterm buy signal. Definitely we don't have short-term midterm sell signal, but we do have a midterm buy signal with a possibility of another test of the upper line of the wedge. We have to see how the situation will develop. Very good situation you would have if the price would break this resistance, then come back lower a little bit and then advanced higher. But to sum up, long-term sell, mid-term buy. That's not the best environment to be in, but sometimes you cannot pick the situation, but the situation picks you. Euro to Japanese yen. You remember this. Downswing, flag, breakout, and a downswing. And that was a legitimate downswing, but now we're having just a typical thing which happens very often. So after the breakout of the support, horizontal support here and uptrend line here was a strong support. After the breakout and the movement for 250 pips, the price is just retracing and most probably gonna test it. Test it as what? Test it as a closest resistance, because broken support becomes resistances. It's happening all the time. It's one of the principles, main tools of the price action trading. So we're just waiting for the price to get to this rectangle, let me label it with yellow rectangle, and here magic's supposed to happen. So here on this in this area, You wait and see. You wait for the reaction. If there's gonna be a bearish reaction, like head and shoulder formation, shooting star or something, you go short. If you will see a bullish breakout here, that can be a good occasion to go long. Another one is euro to Australian dollar. That's a good one. You remember here we were telling to go, well, we cannot tell you anything, but we are telling that there are high chances of further upswing. And the price went up and created a correction pattern. What's that correction? That's a flag in a downtrend, so it's supposed to bring us a downtrend. We also, in addition to this, we had this head and shoulder formation, left shoulder, head and right shoulder. So at the same time we broke the lower line of the flag and the neckline, right? But this, as you can see, appeared to be false breakout. And what's happening after false breakouts? We do have an opposite movement. We do have a strong movement in the opposite direction, which is happening here, which is happening now. And from top to bottom is 300 pips, which is pretty impressive. So we came back above the neckline, came back inside of the flag, broke the line connecting top of the head and the right shoulder, and the red line is long-term downtrend line, which we are also crushing right now. If we will have a bullish candlestick here, bullish Marubozu candlestick on a daily chart, that will be a strong buy signal, right? So far we do not have it, but once we're gonna have it, that will be a strong buy signal. Because also we can get a candle like that. Look, at some point at the life of the candle, it was a strong Marubozu breaking the trend line, but at the end of the day, we got a retracement and the price created long head, right? That was pretty much similar situation. So if sellers will attack at the end of the day and will manage to close this candle below the trend line, that would create a shooting star, and a shooting star from bouncing from a long-term trend line is a definite sell signal, right? So situation can change, can still change. We have a few hours to the end of the day, so still everything can change. But after this webinar, you're wiser, you know this market situation a bit better, and you will be able to react straight away. Australian dollar to New Zealand dollar, that's a good one. That was a wedge for some time, but we can see they want to make a flag. Okay, fair enough. But even with that, with a flag which is a trend continuation pattern, and the trend is positive because we're having higher highs and higher lows, I don't think that they're gonna defend this. I think that breaking the long-term downtrend line, which is labeled with red color, and this horizontal support, which is in the same time as the neckline of inverse head and shoulder formation, I think that breaking those two will have a very negative impact on this instrument. And well, definitely there is no more buy signal here. The buy signal will be created once the price will get here, for example. So far it's less likely that it will happen, but when it will, that will be a buy signal. American dollar to Swiss franc. Swiss franc is gaining strength. Well, as you can see, American dollar is weaker at the moment. Well, it's we had an influence from Mr. Mnuchin and Mr. Trump saying that the American dollar is a bit too strong. And we can see that globally on every single market that American dollar is a bit weak. Next, gold. After the breakout of the long-term trend line, what do we have here is a sideways trend. Not much is happening. As long as we stay here, the sentiment is positive. As long as we stay above this horizontal support, the sentiment is positive. But even if we will be able to break it, I think that as long as we stay above the orange level, we are fine. We are just fine. Silver is having a bit more troubles here. Why is that? Because they created this bearish engulfing pattern and they got a strong reversal here. They were not able to hold the price above this horizontal support here, which seems important. But what's good for the buyers is that they are defending the lower line of this wedge formation, and the price actually bounced from this lower line. As you can see, we have a demand today, and this can be promising for the buyers on silver. American dollar to Polish zloty. Here you can also see the weakness of American dollar, strength of an emerging market currency, which is Polish zloty, and most probably we'll have another test of the trend line. You'll see. Also, a few signals here. So flag is bullish. Price being above the trend line is bullish. But in the same time, third bearish impulse ending here. That can be a magnet. Gravity can be strong here, and the price maybe they will try to test it. And an ability to break the upper line of the flag can be negative for buyers, and maybe it will be used by short side of the market. Now British pound, let's check what happened yesterday. We got an upswing from the flag here, from the symmetric triangle. As you can see, it's our position. We opened that 2 days ago here. The price advanced higher. Actually, yes, we opened here. The price, after what the SMA said, advanced higher, and we closed that here below the resistance. Now price is 100 pips higher, 110. We got 180 pips, which is fair enough. That's right for us. We're not greedy at all. This resistance seems like it will be broken. So again, scenario from our analysis, which you could watch online on different portals and on our video. Our analysis is doing good with that. And euro to British pound. We were waiting what's gonna happen on this crucial support. What happened was a breakout, so triggers legitimate sell signal. Also, in the same time, we broke yearly lows. We broke lows from end of February. So the sell signal is definitely on euro to British pound pair. British pound to Canadian dollar. After the bullish breakout from this wedge, here we are telling you that the price should go 700 pips higher. They went 500 already. They have just 200 left. So another good point for us, for Alpari team. Right, so here again, let me remind you the situation on a daily chart. There is a bullish engulfing, which we spotted at the beginning of the year, and it seemed like a great occasion to buy, but as you can see, for the first few months traders hesitated, but The price was going slowly higher. We broke the midterm downtrend line. We were all the time supported by the midterm uptrend line. We created a wedge, which is a trend continuation pattern here. Finally, the trend was continued. We got a breakout, then an upswing. So after here, 500 pips higher after the breakout, which is excellent if you ask me. And last but not least, what we have for you is two pairs from antipodes, Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar, against greenback, against American dollar. Australian dollar to American dollar was having a false breakout here, and after that a following movement with a typical upswing, but it finally stopped, and now the price advancing higher. Well, the price advancing lower. It's mostly due to the dovish RBI about the statement from Reserve Bank of Australia, which was perceived as dovish, so that is why Australian dollar is losing right now. Even with the much stronger dollar, we can see a decline here. But with a stronger euro, the upswing is much bigger than the downswing here, because this downswing is a little bit stopped, paused by a weaker dollar. And New Zealand dollar to American dollar, they defended this long-term uptrend line. We have 1, 2, 3 contacts with the horizontal support. We have a bounce. If the price will manage to make higher highs, which we don't have yet, that will be an opening. That will be a positive sign for buyers. As you can see, this is our scenario from the few days ago, where we draw this flag. And we didn't say that you should go up or down. No, we said that if the price will break the upper line of the flag, you can go down. If the price will break this support, you can go short. And what happened was the price broke the upper line of the flag, and that was a buy signal. So what you could get was 80 pips without being on loss even for a second, right? Now it would be 45 pips, which is still fine, obviously, depending from your volume and your time frame, but it is not a bad result at all. Okay, so to sum up, to wrap that up, what do we have here is a situation with euro, which is advancing higher in many pairs. We do have short-term, mid-term buy signals. For the long-term buy signals, we still have to wait. Well, or if you want a buy signal on euro, you could look at euro to Australian dollar. Euro to Japanese yen, also mid-term buy signal. Euro to Australian dollar, mid-term buy signal with a possibility of a long-term buy signal. And on cable, the story from yesterday. Beautiful upswing. We're supposed to see a correction here, but nobody's coming. We got a capitulation of the short sellers. Well, at first they were defending, but after that they have to admit that they were wrong and take losses. And losses for the short side of the market is long position, so that is why we have an acceleration of this movement. Many stop losses were triggered, and that's why it's happening like it's happening. Okay guys, thanks very much for watching Trading, not Trading Sniper, but Daily Analytical Report. It was a pleasure to be with you, and now we have a short break, and after that a webinar with Alpari regarding more technical stuff. Thanks very much and goodbye.